And this is a typical Christmas bread in Ferrara, and you can either call it pan papato, the bread of the Pope, or pan pepato, meaning bread with pepper in it. And to start out making it, you need about 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. And then this bread really reminds me of other breads that I've had in Italy, like the panforte of Siena. So you want 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then some spices. This is why this reminds me of panforte so much. Here is a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and another 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. So those are our spices, and this is a very easy bread to make, and it's a heavy bread. So you just whirl all of that up. And while that's mixing, I want to now get some sugar going with some cocoa. So in a pan, I have 1½ cups of sugar, and I want to stir in a cup of water. So a cup of water goes in, and then we're going to add some cocoa to this, two types of cocoa actually. A regular baking cocoa, and that's 3/4 cup of baking cocoa, and then a half a cup of sweet cocoa. And you can find this in your baking section of your grocery store. What is sweet cocoa? It's just cocoa that has sugar in it. So you want to put a half a cup of the sweet cocoa in. So there are our 2 cocos, and you want to whisk this around until it's smooth, because we're going to be adding this to the mixture in our mixer. So I'll keep my eye on this, and while I'm doing this with one hand, I'll tell you what else goes in here. We now want to add some dried fruits to this. And here you have options, but the cake or the bread as it is made in Ferrara has citron, and so we have a half a cup of citron, and that goes in. I'm going to have to use my hands for that because that's a little sticky. So a half a cup of citron, and then a half a cup of orange rind, and a half a cup of lemon rind go in. And you want to just coat those dry ingredients now with your flour mixture. All right, so now we have our cocoa mixture well blended with our sugar, and that's all there is to that. We can now put this in with the dry ingredients. So this all goes in the pan. You want to cool it down a little bit, but I think I'm okay today. So we'll put it all in with the flour mixture, and we want to add a little bit of vanilla. So, about a tablespoon of vanilla. And now here's where it gets that name of pan pepato. We're going to add a good grinding of black pepper. Doesn't this sound intriguing? And now we can go ahead and mix that very carefully. And here you're going to have to gauge if you need to add more flour. Okay, now the only other thing we have to do is add some almonds. Look at that. Look at how chocolatey that is. I'm going to take it right out onto my board. And then we're going to mix in these almonds. And I have 3/4 cup of almonds that I just toasted. You want to put them on a bake sheet, 350 degrees, for about 5 to 7 minutes. Really watch them because you don't want them to burn. Here are our almonds. I'm going to put them right over the top, and then put a little flour on your hands, because this is sticky, and begin to knead this. Knead it until all of those almonds are well mixed in to this bread. Okay, now once you do this, you need to have your oven on at 350 degrees, because you're going to put this on a cookie sheet to bake for about 30 or 35 minutes. And when it doesn't feel sticky on your hands, you've got enough flour. Okay, and I'm going to stop right there now and cut that in half and get it on my bake sheet. So this will make 2 wonderful loaves. And then we have to do something really, really special to this after it's baked. We have to coat it in chocolate, of course. So make it into a dome kind of shape, domey kind of in the center, but not more than 6 inches. It's going to rise somewhat. There's one. And there is the second one. Beautiful. And they go into a 350-degree preheated oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. See, I have another little pot of hot water, and in it I have some bittersweet chocolate. And this is a great way to melt chocolate without burning it. This is called tempering chocolate. And this is going to be for the pan pepato. But all I did was put 8 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate in a bowl over some water without the water touching the bowl. Cut up the chocolate into small pieces so that it would melt neatly. And now I'm going to add to it a little bit of olive oil because I want that to have a nice shine when I use it. So, about a teaspoon of olive oil, and you see how nice and smooth that is. And if you didn't want to use olive oil with this, you could use butter. And earlier I made you a pan pepato that you can see coming out of the oven. So there it is. And how do you know it's cooked? Well, you just take a skewer. When it comes out clean, you know that it's cooked. Now back to the chocolate. Here's that nice, wonderful chocolate that we melted. You see how nice it is, look. And now we need to paint the top of the bread. So with a brush, just take some of that chocolate and go right over the top. I want to show you that I've already painted the bottom. You see that? And I let it dry. So now I'm going to paint the top of it. So I'm going to put a hole right there, right there. Just pretend you didn't see this. There's your gold coin. It's going right in there, you see? Because I don't want to be outdone by the Duke Borso d'Este. All right, so you let that dry, and you have a pan pepato.